Hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for August 5th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 218. I am Mayor Watt, and above this visualizer is the Sentient AI's visualizer.
Good evening, hometown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Today we're going to talk about Crowdshipping, a different alphabet song, single seat EVs, OnePlus heavy metal, OpenAI watermarking, and then maybe not. Judge says Google is a monopoly. Debby blows Florida beaches. Transatlantic travel tantrum. A fake website to solicit complaints. And sticky honey fraud. That and more. Really? 1 second. Living the dream, folks. I'm going to try something real quick. 1 second. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Interesting. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt, like I said, and along with the Sentient AI from the future, we talk about a whole bunch of different news. I don't have a camera at the moment, so I've transferred my consciousness to a Raspberry Pi. And now you get a visualizer just like the Sentient AI does.
Neat.
Yes, you up there. It might change in the near future. We'll see. But if you want to get today's show notes, I'm only streaming over to Twitch right now. We're in a time machine, and it tends to have little hiccups when I multi-stream. Just kidding. I'm just streaming over to Twitch. And then right after this, we're going to reset. We're going to do the reel. We're going to get out of the time machine, and we'll be all caught up with Non Sequitur News. And then we'll have to play catch up with the weekly shows. But I have a plan for that as well. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Anyway, if you hit !NSN, you'll get the show notes for today's episode. And if you want to get the podcast, you'll be able to just type in !pod, and that'll list all of the podcasts that we actually have available. And if you want to get the syntax for all of the show notes, then you can do !show notes, and that will give you the shorthand that will extract from Omatron all of the show notes from the last episode that we had. All right, 1 second here. Let's do this. Kind of weird. Yeah. That confused look on the Sentient AI's face, which nobody can see but me, because I'm the one that interacts with the cascade of odd characters, kind of like the Matrix. Everybody else gets to see that visualizer up above me.
I don't know how to make a confused look other than just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that makes the neurons wiggle. All right, so let's get going. The first article is over in Technology Today. Ride a bus, take a package with you. How crowdshipping reduces the impacts of millions of deliveries. With the rise in e-commerce, 161 billion parcels were delivered worldwide in 2022, doubling in just 4 years. In Australia, more households are shopping online than ever before. In 2023, 5.6 million households made a monthly online purchase. This implies millions of parcels are being shipped each month. This article is over at Tech Explorer. They have it in a automotive subsection. We had a show about that too. It's called Four Wheel Tech. Lynette Che, I guess, from The Conversation put this article together. And they have these little automated lockers at stations. Could serve as mini distribution centers for people to pick up a package when they travel and deliver it on their route to wherever it is they're going.
This is so odd to me.
I mean, if you're traveling, then you might as well be the Uber delivery person for packages. It's kind of interesting. Using low-emission vehicles such as electric delivery vans powered by renewable energy sources can certainly help. However, electric delivery vans and trucks are still uncommon. Their global sales share in 2023 was just under 5%. Increasing the number of vehicle chargers powered by renewable energy will also take time. We've had this discussion here in the States. Just doesn't seem to be really happening, but it is and it isn't. Like, if you are in the loop, then you know that there's a whole bunch of these charging stations. Problem with charging stations, and I kind of bang this gong quite a bit, is it doesn't take 5 minutes to just charge up your EV and get the hell out of Dodge. No, you're there for 30 minutes. You're there for up to 8 hours.
8 hours, if you're lucky.
Right. So
if there's a charger available.
And that's exactly where I was going with the rest of this statement. You can't just build as many gas stations as you have or you can't build as many charging stations as you have gas stations. Why? Because it only takes me 5 minutes to fill up my car and leave. So you're going to have to rely on 8 times the number of gas station pumps in relation to charging stations, because everybody and their grandmother is going to be sitting there going to the coffee shop across the charging park. It's going to be a massive platform of concrete. Talk about needing renewable.
Well, the other thing is most people don't have to go fill up every day at the gas station.
Right.
Not so with charging.
Yeah, you constantly have to fill up, because if your car only gets 100 miles to the gallon, you can only drive an hour. Sorry, not 100 miles to the gallon. If your car only gets 230, let's say 250, that means you can only go 125 miles. That's a 2-hour drive.
Which might be your commute back and forth.
And we're talking about the efficiency factor here. Over time, that gets reduced. The efficiency of the battery pack loses upwards of 2% every year that it's in existence. So anyway,
that's true.
To mitigate all of this extraneous delivery stuff, now you as a traveler can pick up a package and deliver it. So it says we explored limiting crowd shipping to off-peak hours. So what is this? What practical obstacles must be overcome? There are several practical considerations. First, passengers would be willing to deliver parcels. Maybe.
That's a big if, right?
Would you trust or want somebody handling your package?
That was the other thing. I thought, you don't want everybody delivering your package.
Yeah, I don't want everybody's hands all over my package. I trust certain people, with accountability.
Right. I mean, what if they pick up a package and then get distracted by something and the package never makes it to you?
Or who knows? Yeah, there's just countless things. But what's interesting is the USPS is really the only one that has really supreme accountability. If a package doesn't get delivered properly, or if somebody steals it off of your porch, it's not really covered by the same rules and regulations. Porch pirates, right? It's not a federal crime to steal somebody's package as it's delivered. It's not a federal crime. If I tamper with the USPS mail, it is.
Right. It depends on where it's being stolen from, right? Is it from a mailbox or is it on a porch?
Right. Yeah. A FedEx delivery is a commercial purchase, not going through the federal delivery system. So it's a theft, but it doesn't rise to the level where the federal government's going to get involved. State, maybe. Maybe. City, maybe. Your local police will go, notify the Amazon. And anyway, it says, finally, there's a need to assure parcel shippers, carriers, and receivers that the service is reliable, and the service platform should be designed to develop and maintain accountability and trust among users. This is the primary thing that I have a problem with. But look what happened. We have people that are Ubering all over the place, and there's less accountability there than there is, or I should say, maybe there's more accountability, but it's a lot.
But there's more variability.
Yeah, you really don't know what you're going to. Yeah, Uber is like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. And I can tell you that I had some interesting experiences over the week that I was at a conference. I'll just leave it at that. So it was interesting. And I know somebody else that actually is an Uber and Lyft driver so that they can get stories that they talk about. So I find it interesting in and of itself that we do this already with our bodies, let alone our packages, and somebody is sitting there talking about this.
Well, you're right. I mean, if we're okay with it with our people, then maybe this isn't such a big leap.
Yeah, well, nobody takes care of our packages, right? Like, we can take care of ourselves if something happens in an Uber or a Lyft or whatever, but our packages can be delivered, quote unquote delivered, but unless they take a picture of it and you have a security camera, anything can be said. And maybe it'll show up like a pizza, outside of its package.
One slice at a time.
Yeah. You want to keep moving on?
Sure.
Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Schools are teaching a different version of the alphabet song, and here's why. One first grade teacher
Did you know about this?
No. One first grade teacher told Newsweek that while the old version of the song might be popular, it's created issues in her classroom. Again, the article is over at newsweek.com. Jack Beresford put the article together. What makes something like the alphabet song sung to the familiar tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star such an important tool in starting to develop those skills and understanding? Rachel, an elementary school teacher in Atlanta, Georgia, or from Atlanta, Georgia, who posts TikToks under the handle Teacher Rachel Sorrell, is a keen advocate of the song's use in her classroom, but apparently when kids are first learning to read, they haven't yet developed the alphabetic principle, which is understanding that those squiggles we call letters each have different names and spell sounds. Songs make learning sticky, so the alphabet song is a helpful way to introduce, learn, and practice the beginnings of this concept. So where's the problem?
Gotta keep going.
According to Rachel, this change has actually been in place for some time now and has been done for an important set of reasons. So what is this change?
It's in that box.
Yeah. My 5-year-old twins have informed me I sing the alphabet wrong. Tune is the same, but the new rendition their teacher prefers breaks down as follows: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Okay, so I noticed 2 changes. There's no LMNO, and there's no and.
All right. So Rachel noted many kids also struggle with the sounds at the end of the alphabet because of the and between Y and Z. So Y and Z.
Right, because and isn't a letter, right?
Yep. So when they tried to explain it in the video, she said many commenting said that the problem was down to the kids were not enunciating all of the letters, but she rejects that notion. I'm sorry. One of the best possible things for a parent or a teacher to do for young learners, and I don't think that this is adequately done, is to enunciate it directly to them. Big, bombastic, over-articulated, so that they see how your face, your lips, your tongue, your teeth move to form these letters. And as odd as this may sound, this is anecdotal though, so I'm not a professional I'm not a professional when it comes to teaching children, but I have interacted with children from various spectrum of knowledge experience teaching, and every time I've done this, their method of speech changes dramatically because they now see how a person constructs the letters of the alphabet and or words. I think that is really the key ingredient. And they say, this article says that Rachel attempted to explain this on her video. She said many commenting said that the problem was down to the fact that kids were not enunciating all of the word or letters, but she rejects that notion. And I think that she's wrong. Absolutely wrong. Because if a child is not enunciating all of the letters, they don't know how they're supposed to form the follow-on words that spawn from those letters. You have to know the phonemes that make all of the sounds.
Right. If you don't know the sound or the letter, then how are you going to make a word from it?
Yeah, so you have to know L. How is L formed? How is N formed? And it's a very subtle shift from L to N. But M is pretty a massive shift in the construction, because L and N, your mouth is open, but M, you purse your lips. You press your lips together for M. And then O, you open it up and you basically build an O with your mouth. And when you sit there and hear the word or say the letters LMNO, it forms the word LMNO, but there is no word LMNO. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then it's like, where are the individual letters?
Correct.
Because it goes so fast, you kind of lose it.
So they actually break up LMNO in the new song. So you say HIJKLMN and then you break it. Then you say OPQ. So
I mean, it seems like that could work.
I think it's actually pretty brilliant. And we need new mechanisms to teach children. If we just stick to the old, quote unquote, tried and true, then we're not really evolving. We're just kind of sticking to the old tendency. And it may be more efficient, more effective for young learners to skip over it like that.
Much like songs stick to kids' brains.
Yep. Yeah. So they say, though she noted many commenting on her video, insisted they had turned out fine despite learning the old version of the song. She is firmly in favor of this more effective approach.
Well, and I think the people that speak well that learned the old version probably had additional instruction.
And it's not that they turned out well or fine. It's that through repetition, they managed to just survive. I mean, when you're a kid...
I'd like to know how well, right? Like, do they speak well? Do they write well?
Yeah, and I think that there's some cultural and temporal relativism. If you're 40 years old and you say that you turned out fine by learning the old song, you don't know what it's like to be a 5-year-old in the modern age. So if you can't unlearn your old way, but you can step back and go, oh, wow, this is actually, with this new context in mind, maybe I should change my mind about the old song. Don't do it because it's nostalgic. Do it because it's right. And this seemingly seems right. So let's keep moving, though. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Hundreds of single-seat EVs are awaiting destruction at a scrapyard. Electra Mechanica once promised to bring EVs to the masses with this small solo EV. Now piles of that dream have been thrown away, forgotten in an Arizona scrapyard. Hold on a second, I'm doing something. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to figure out where the static is coming from. But I thought it was like one of my cell phones, but that's not it. It's not my watch. It's not my iPad. I don't understand. But if you're picking it up, you're hearing it out there in the stream, I'll go back and I'll listen to this one because today seems to be worse than ever. But I like moved the access point for my VR headset that hasn't changed anything. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
Maybe it's just thrown off because of the monitor.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I replaced the monitor, so. Anyway, Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com, it's from Jalopnik, but it's posted at qz.com, but it's the name of the website that we sourced it from is Quartz. This is all so kludgy. Anyway, 3 wheeled one-person EVs are basically getting tanked. The Solo EV, now piles of that dream have been thrown away, forgotten in an Arizona scrapyard. I would love to get the power plants behind these. But look at that. There's a little TikTok that shows them all just
so wasteful. Yeah.
Thrown away. First spotted by the Autopian, which probably we should pay attention to. The pile of EVs was filmed by a scrapyard hunter, desert survival aficionado and local motors engineer who goes by Startup Slick on the TikTok as he wandered the Pull and Save scrapyard in Gilbert, Arizona. So what could make an EV startup just throw away a bunch of cars like that? It's all started a couple of years ago. Oh, wow. So in 2022, an owner complained to both the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and Electromechanica that their Solo had lost power while driving. Eventually, more owners came forward claiming the same issue. Electromechanica's engineers team found a defect in the Solo's motor controller and inverter, or the battery controller, that led to the loss of power. However, the company couldn't find a fix for the issue. Ultimately, a recall in February 2023 led to nearly every single Solo ever being sold being recalled. You'd think that's a massive number, but it was 400. A month later, Electromechanica informed customers that it would be buying back the vehicles from them. Electromechanica was eventually purchased by another EV startup called Exos, I guess, who apparently manufacture electric commercial trucks. Now, the entire situation has led to what you see above. The Solos piled up, awaiting the crusher. I guess nobody wants the parts because they seem to be pretty hinky to begin with. Can't hear you.
With all the EV issues, that just seems so wasteful, and the fact that batteries don't last a long time, etc. I mean, just essentially throwing these away is outrageous. I mean, couldn't somebody at least get them and, I don't know, tinker with them and develop a better EV or something?
Yeah, use the parts somewhere else. Figure out what went wrong. The batteries themselves could probably have been recovered, but who knows what actually was recovered, because they don't actually go into detail about what was recovered. It looks like just the bodies could have been thrown away. We just don't know. So yeah, they disposed of partly via the facility in the LinkedIn video following the acquisition by Exos Electromechanica. Few remaining operations have been wound down, and that's it. They were just sent to be crushed rather than fixed. I mean, they're too dangerous to be on the road if they're losing power. $18,000 cars.
Yeah, that's true.
Solo EVs for $18,000. Let's move on. Next article's over in Reality Hacker. A heavy metal band has made a song about a OnePlus phone. Finnish heavy metal monster band Lordi has made a song about the OnePlus Nord 4, and it's called Made of Metal. Can you guess why? Apparently, Andy Boxall over at digitaltrends.com put the article together, and there you go. It's kind of like a guar, a Nordic guar. Never one to shy. It's kind of funny that they say never one to shy away from a crazy promo opportunity. Mm-hmm. OnePlus has teamed up with Finnish heavy metal monsters Lordi, or Lordi, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's like Bob, for its latest collaboration. So this is pretty cool. I guess it's an all metal OnePlus Nord 4. Song's called Made of Metal band.
That's probably a good collaboration.
Never Settle,
but you
Made of Metal.
But you don't expect a metal song about a cell phone.
I don't think that they have it on here. Yeah, they do. You know what? I'll risk it. Let's see if I can Risk it for the biscuit. Okay, hold on 1 second. One second.
I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be the best, the most metal. To live metal, sleep metal, eat metal, to breathe metal. Do more than others, go faster, harder. More metal.
All right, folks. For you in the podcast, there's a link in the article that we linked to. Apparently it is made of metal, and it's one of the first phones in a long time to use a metal unibody. Although, isn't the iPhone made of metal?
I think so.
Color me confused. Let's move on. Next article is over in Technology Today. OpenAI confirms it's looking into text watermarking for ChatGPT that could pose or expose cheating students. Following a report from the Wall Street Journal that claims OpenAI has been sitting on a tool that can spot essays written by ChatGPT with a high degree of accuracy, the company has shared a bit of information about its research into text watermarking and why it hasn't released its detection method. So the article's over at Engadget. Cheyenne McDonald put the article together. The Wall Street Journal. Okay, so the Wall Street Journal is where it was sourced from. Then Engadget picked it up, and then we sourced it from Engadget. Although we also look at Wall Street Journal, but anyway, it's kind of funny. Again, the news discussion turducken. So, according to the Wall Street Journal's report, debate over whether the tool should be released has kept it from seeing the light of day despite it being ready. The only way that this could be ready is if it actually exposes verbatim the output of what somebody constructs using the AI, and there's a privacy issue there, and I would have a problem with it, mainly because the creative effort of a person shouldn't be I don't know.
Like if you read a book and then you create another book, you shouldn't have the book splashed over your book.
Right. Yeah. I have a problem with...
It wasn't the best example, but...
Yeah, you really shouldn't have... If I use an AI to create something, it's mine. It's not the AI's. The AI may do stuff, but it doesn't do it on its own. It has to have the impetus. It has to have the action provoked by a human and the constraints therein, right? So, like, I want to do something, I'm going to use AI to facilitate it. I'm not going to have a problem saying I used AI. The portion of it that is AI will be different than what the end game is, because the end game is going to be modified by the human until I reach that point where I go, yeah, that's good enough, right? So there's always this moment where an artist or, well, anybody, just call them a creative, has to go, this is good enough, regardless of the tools that they use, from paint to music samples to photography, writing, everything creative. There's an inspiration. It's not created in a vacuum. It never, ever is. Like the worst case scenario is where people sit there and go, oh, AI is just creating a bunch of whatever. When you take a picture of something, you could take 1,000 pictures, and you know what AI was doing at that time? It's called nature. And it was randomly creating the events, the chaos, the entropy that you took a sample of 1,000 times. And then eventually you capitulated and said, yeah, this is good enough. So music.
Well, and you could take it 1,000 times on like an auto,
right?
Whatever, and
yeah,
kind of get to the same point.
Yep. Now, is there dedication to that? Yeah, sure. You have to go out into the field and sit there and wait for the wind to blow just right. But it's still not you. You have nothing to do with it other than pushing the damn button. Music, different animal. Writing, different animal. A lot of other creative processes are in a different vein. But AI still facilitates it. Doesn't make it so. And I don't think anybody who uses AI should say it's solely theirs. You can say, hey, I use technology. Yeah, I used AI. But it's still mine. I created it. It was from my input, my causation. So watermarking, I think, is a bad idea because it may unintentionally actually provoke somebody into believing that the work is solely the work of AI. I just read about somebody who said that their professor called them out publicly for using AI because they used an automated tool to evaluate the marketing report, and it was tagged as 100% AI generated, except that they say that it was not. And to call it out publicly, just like this would, I think is fatally flawed. And it's downright libelous. I mean, if the person sits there and says, yeah, I used AI, they're vilified, and it shouldn't be that way. It's just smart work.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it's viewed in the future. Like, is it viewed as smart and creative and all these things to use it?
Yeah.
Or is it not?
And you're right. We have this cultural relativism, which is something that I always talk about in sociological processes, because what we believe today as good or bad is good or bad in a different way. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's accepted. Or maybe Dune becomes a reality and we destroy all artificial intelligence because it doomed the planet.
Will we at least have ornithopters?
No, it's like fetch. They're not going to happen. It's just not. I don't think that they make physical sense.
Right, like they don't comply with the laws of physics.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe somebody's built one, but I think it's probably going to fly like a plane and not because of the thrust of the wings. Anyway, it says, for example, it could stigmatize use of AI as a useful writing tool for non-native English speakers, but why say non-native? It's a useful writing tool for all creatives. Yeah. I don't think
that's true. I mean, why artificially limit it?
Right. It's because it's gatekeeping. You use a spell checker. It's just a more powerful tool. It's not a spell checker, and it hallucinates and makes up bullshit, makes up stuff. Sorry. I'm trying to be family friendly. Anyway, let's keep going. Next article's over in the continuity. Oh, by the way, that OpenAI report from Engadget, a subordinate link over at ohmTown says that it wasn't ready. And
I did see something else after this was submitted.
Yeah.
But I didn't read the other one.
Yeah, so there's some hemming and hawing as to the effectiveness of the tool. And again, the only way it could absolutely say all of this was generated by AI is if it parsed its outputs and named the person who did the search. This was generated by AI, because here it's in our databanks, which makes it really creepy that it's stored somewhere.
Well, and I don't see people using it if it does that.
Yeah.
At least not for anything important.
Yeah. If I'm told that my output is actually stored somewhere verbatim, I would think that it's just unbelievably creepy, very skeevy, and I would walk away from ever using it. But that's almost the hope, Somebody's going to say, yeah, it definitely is. Oh, well, then I'm going to walk. Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article's over in the continuity report. Google illegally maintains search monopoly. A judge rules in siding with the DOJ. Google broke the law by inking multi-billion-dollar deals to make its search engine the default on web browsers and smartphones, including devices from Apple and Samsung. A federal judge ruled on Monday. So Judge Amit Mehta of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Why do I know that name? Said Google's payments to partners to be the default search engine basically violated antitrust. I think it was Todd Spangler over at Variety.com put the article together. The deck statement says the tech giant says it will appeal the decision. Of course it will. So it's a 277-page ruling on Monday in the antitrust case brought by the Justice Department that he wrote that Google had abused its monopoly in the internet search business. And this is what I tell people. Mergers and acquisitions, lack of competition means that the one that has the money that can inject itself into everything eliminates competition because nobody can ever get a foothold.
You know, what I was trying to think of is other web browsers. And for example, Bing, if I'm not mistaken, is a Microsoft product. And so maybe the difference there is it comes maybe with the software. So it's not like it's specific to a device. Is that correct?
Yes, but Microsoft also fell to this monopolistic abuse by forcing no other browser to be installed on the operating system. Nowadays, you have an option of which browsers to install when you install Windows because of this antitrust issue. And so essentially, by using your might to force your, not really force your way, but to appeal to an organization's need for money, they violated the Sherman Act. So Section 2, the internet giant violated Section 2 of the Sherman Act by maintaining its monopoly in two product markets in the United States, general search services and general text advertising, through its exclusive distribution agreements. So much like a lot of these really restrictive contracts, agreements, you can't do this with anybody else. You can only, play with my bat and ball, and it's anti-competitive.
It is. And then I kind of wonder, are there competitors out there? And does this prevent competitors from even entering the marketplace?
So here's the deal. You can actually change your default search engine in your browser, but by default, you basically are the one that they set up initially, the default browser that you get. Like Safari, it's Google, but you can actually change it to DuckDuckGo or something else. But you have to go in and manually shift it. By coming out first, you are the de facto solution. So Google is the one that everybody uses because that's the first thing you see.
Right. It's almost like the first mover article that we were discussing, I think, yesterday.
Correct. So the other organizations, they have to, they basically have to pay a ton of money, and they don't get top shelf because, well, nobody uses it. So it's less effective. And so, again, it becomes less effective because nobody uses it. It's self-fulfilling destiny, a downward spiral. So in 2020, the Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit. This is in 2020, so 4 years, which was joined by a coalition of 38 attorneys general, alleging the company had a monopoly on search and search advertising to the detriment of consumers and competitors. In its lawsuit, the DOJ sought an injunction to stop Google from engaging in anti-competitive behavior, as well as structural relief as needed to cure any anti-competitive harm. Essentially, they closed the door on this. Google has monopoly power for general search and general text ads, which everybody knows. If you want to advertise on Facebook, you use Facebook. If you want to advertise in iOS, you use something that is compatible with that vehicle. But on the web, everybody links to Google. Their pages are always linked to Google. Now, you can use certain tools and look around about just how pervasive it is. But yeah, Google is where it is. But there's a ton of other telemetry and tracking and advertising stuff like iAds and countless others. But none of them have the reach. None of them have the agreements that inject Google into the browser itself. which is your vehicle to the online universe.
Yeah, it seems like Google is kind of like a textbook monopoly. I mean, it reminds me of like a Ticketmaster or something in the ticket space.
See, the problem is that people think that monopoly means that there's only one. But it isn't that there's only one. Monopolistic tendencies, monopolistic practices, being a monopoly means that you use your might to overwhelm all of the competitors. So functionally, they can't compete because they just didn't live long enough to get all of the financial might that the monopoly has. And then it always kind of breaks down. Sometimes two of them collaborate, and that's a duopoly, and so on and so forth. But let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Hurricane Debby blows $1 million worth of cocaine onto Florida beaches. According to the article, it says, along with winds of up to 70 miles per hour, the tropical storm brought 25 packages of cocaine ashore.
Well, I mean, that's rather efficient. It didn't require individuals to transport each package.
Adam Kovac. Yeah, really. I need to ship something. Let me just throw it into a hurricane. The tropical storm brought 25 packages of cocaine ashore. Adam Kovac over at gizmodo.com put the article together. In total, the packages weighed 70 pounds or 31.7 kilograms and had a street value of around $1 million. They were found by a Good Samaritan who reported them to authorities. Twitching at the time, they said that... No, just kidding. So sometimes storms aren't even necessary for the sea to throw up illicit party favors. In June, 71 pounds of cocaine, estimated to have a street value of almost $5 million, was recovered from yet another Florida beach. Almost a year earlier, Tampa Mayor Jane Castor was having a relaxing fishing trip in her home state. We're sensing a pattern here. When she reeled in another 70 pounds of what they call in the article disco dandruff.
Wow. I mean, is the entire ocean filled with this?
So I want to know where it came from. I mean, this stuff doesn't just swim around on its own and get blown ashore. So somewhere out there, a dinghy lost $1 million worth of cocaine. Wow. Yeah.
Well, and do you think some suppliers going, no, I swear the hurricane took it?
Yeah, really. They're filing an insurance report. My packages were lost at sea. Really? Do you want to declare with their contents? No. I just want to say that there are $1 million. Small packages, $1 million. White powder? Next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. Flight attendant Tantrum cancels transatlantic flight. Air Canada canceled a long-haul flight 2 weeks after. 2 weeks after? An incident between one of the flight attendants and a passenger? The flight from Casablanca, Morocco to Montreal departed the gate but never reached the runway. The flight attendant seemingly had a meltdown and forced the plane to return to the terminal. Wow.
Okay, we've heard of passengers causing disruptions, but I think this is the first time we've seen a flight attendant.
Yeah, this one's really weird. Ryan Eric King put the article together for jalopnik.com. A passenger was kicked off the flight after asking for a blanket, and every other passenger got off with her. What? All right.
I bet they were thrilled on an international flight.
A woman asked for a blanket, caused the cabin because the cabin was too cold. The flight attendant seemingly had a meltdown and forced the plane to return to the... It's recorded. No, maybe not. Let's find out. It isn't clear what led the flight attendant to start yelling, but she was filmed shouting, "You will behave or we will get off." Things escalated during the meltdown when the passenger asked to speak to the captain. When the plane returned to the gate, the police took the passenger off the plane. Air Canada was forced to cancel the flight entirely when all the other passengers got off the plane in solidarity with the woman who was pulled off.
Oh, interesting. I misunderstood. Like, I thought the whole flight was canceled or something, and so everybody got off as in they were required to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very interesting.
Yeah, the way that it initially read may have made you think that, but I thought that that's what happened. They all exited the plane because the woman was forced off the plane because the flight attendant started yelling and said, I will turn this plane around. And she did.
I mean, I am kind of astonished because I don't think most flights would have had so much solidarity, I guess. It's
That's pretty
really
fascinating.
interesting.
Usually there's somebody that says there's always one.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're the one. So the next article's over in the Non Sequitur News channel at ohmtown.com. Go over, become a citizen. It's real easy. Struggling gaming company called Skills. A struggling gaming company tried to destroy its rivals by creating a fake website to solicit complaints, according to court documents. Skills Incorporated tried to sabotage its competitors with a fake advocacy organization, according to a new court filing. I'm going to go over to Business Insider for this. So Jacob Shamsian put the article together for BusinessInsider.com. Has a picture of what looks like a card gaming site or service or whatever on the screen. That's what the thumbnail is. That's what the image is. It's a weird looking screen though. It looks like it's rounded, like a poker table. It looks like they're playing blackjack, but then the screen is cut off. So what is? This is really, it's an interesting picture, and I want to know what it is. But anyway, it's a Getty image, so it doesn't really directly relate to this. Papaya Games claims For Fair Play targeted competitors by encouraging complaints to authorities. Skills Incorporated is accused of creating a fake consumer advocacy site to sabotage its rivals, and the new court filing shines a light on the unsexy but brutal world of casino-style mobile games. So that's what that is. It's a casino-style mobile game on a phone. So the website called For Fair Play encouraged people to file complaints with law enforcement agencies around the country, asking them to investigate Skills competitors which develop similar games. The allegations were made in a counterclaim filed in court Monday by one of those competitors, Papaya Games. Papaya says For Fair Play was a fraudulent organization built by a consulting firm Skills retained. While For Fair Play purported to bring fairness to mobile gaming by promoting fair policies and pushing state attorneys general, it should be attorneys general, to investigate gaming companies, its true purpose was to target Skills rivals, according to Papaya. Pretty fascinating.
If they'd spend half the energy on just making sure theirs was good.
Yeah, like following For Fair Play. Just provide a superior service and you'll be able to compete against
Exactly.
Papaya and Avaya.
I'm assuming they found out because, I don't know, they did a search for their name or something and suddenly found this website. They're like, well, we didn't put this together.
Yeah. Games like 21 Blitz, Solitaire Cash, Bingo Cash aren't as buzzy as the latest Pokemon and Grand Theft Auto offerings, but they form a popular slice of the mobile gaming market, which is valued at nearly $150 billion. Wow. So the company, apparently, Skills Incorporated, was formed in 2012, was once one of the biggest players in the casino-style game space. Instead of developing games itself, it differentiated itself by being a platform for other developers to create games in the Apple and Android app stores. The company peaked in 2021 with $384 million in sales. But it's been a downward slide since. Yeah, because nobody needs them. There's so much out there now that it's becoming diluted.
That's
Anybody
true.
can build.
They were probably at the time when there wasn't as much even genres of competition, right?
Yep. Yeah. Just go somewhere else. Get something else. I mean, people always want to try something new. So if you don't innovate, then you're going to die on the vine. Its share price has plummeted from $900 per share in February of 2021 to about $6 per share today.
Wow.
And that's without any splits. That's without any new issuances, right? They don't talk about that in this article, but if it collapsed that much in 3 years during a pandemic, like this is
Right,
post-pandemic.
where it should have been going up, right?
Yeah, more people
Because
would be
everybody
playing
was
these
stuck
games.
at home. Mm-hmm.
My God, invest, $80 million in marketing. That's a shit ton of money. Sorry, that's a lot of money. Anyway, wild. So there's really not much more to this, and I mean, you can read a lot of stuff. Each time a visitor navigated to the page, the counter said exactly 12,594 people filed complaints, no matter when they visited. It then ticked up every few seconds. So it always started at that. So it's all fake, but the objective was to try and get people to hobble the competitors.
I see. So they'd see like, oh, this one is getting really negative feedback.
Yeah. Tarnish the reputation, make it come across as untrustworthy. So according to Papaya, citing documents obtained through court proceedings and other litigation, the For Fair Play website was created by an organization retained by a person named Josh Levin, who controls a consulting organization called Square Strategies LLC, which was in turn paid over $75,000 by Skills. A Skills executive provided comments on the For Fair Play website design according to screenshots of a website mock-up included as a court exhibit. So they brought receipts. Yeah. Yeah, I think this one's pretty slam dunk. And when your shares are only $6, you don't want to be this kind of attention.
That's true.
Let's go on. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. US beekeepers and scientists tackle sticky problem of honey fraud. Lynn Ingram cuts a peaceful figure as she tends to a row of humming beehives in a leafy corner of Somerset, southwest England. The article is over at phys.org. Daniel Matthews put this article together. There's something really neat. I don't know if a lot of people know about this or not, but you can use a little smoke can like that and blow smoke on bees and it chills them out. Everybody likes to smoke. Just a little. Get chill.
Apparently. I mean, bees, you shouldn't be smoking.
Yeah, it's bad for your health. Yeah, they get calm though, apparently. So the practice of adulterating honey is well known, and historically, adulterants such as ash and potato flour have been used. So this is honey fraudsters. Is what we're about to talk about. Now, advancements in technology and science have made it much easier with bespoke designer or bioengineered syrups used as diluting agents capable of fooling authenticity tests, Ingram said. She founded the UK Honey Authenticity Network, or HAN UK, in 2021 to raise awareness about natural honey and warn of the threat posed by fraud.
I haven't heard of honey fraud before this article.
It sounds like something that, like a honeypot, or...
Yes, exactly. It has a very different connotation.
Something sociological, right? Yeah, honey fraud. It's like fishing, spear fishing,
right.
that kind of thing.
But trying to land a spouse or something, I don't know.
Adulterated honey can be sold to retailers for a price several times lower than genuine producers can afford, as well as producing their own honey. Many larger scale beekeepers have crop pollination contracts with farmers, delivering thousands of colonies to growers across the country. If they go out of business due to unfair competition, this vital natural method of pollinating crops is reduced and food production suffers. Yeah, they talk about drones now. This crackle is really driving me bananas. Anyway, between 2021 and 2022, 46% of the honey tested at it as it entered the EU was flagged as potentially fraudulent, up from 14% in 2015-2017 period. Of the suspicious consignments, 74% were of Chinese origin. Honey imported from the UK had a 100% suspicion rate. Wow.
Okay, that's kind of high.
But wait, I don't understand. So this is in the EU?
Yes, not in the UK.
Okay. The organization is in the UK, though. Han UK, the UK Honey Authenticity Network. So I guess as it left the UK, it gets tested. Labeling in the UK, which has now left the EU, is not as stringent, and Ingram believes consumers are being misled by vague packaging. So for one of the projects...
It is weird. You'd think it's foreign imports, right?
Right, but only...
and exports.
25% of the Chinese origin was okay, apparently, but 100% of the UK was suspicious.
Doesn't it seem like it's like, oh, whoops, our organization is shining a spotlight on the wrong thing?
Whoops. So EU said that the honey is probably produced in third countries and blended again in the UK before being sent to the block, which is questionable, right? You go, oh, really?
Honey from the block?
That's pretty funny. Not all of UK's imported honey leaves the country, however. Considerable quantities stay in the domestic market. So now you got to go back to the honey suppliers in the UK and go, did you blend? And what did you blend it with?
Yeah, I agree. Like, go to the source. And, okay, if it didn't happen there, who's touching it before it gets packaged or shipped or whatever?
So apparently they do this using lasers, fluorescence excitation emission spectroscopy. Involves firing lasers into samples. The light in frequencies remitted are then collated into a three-dimensional image or molecular fingerprint of the honey tested, which is actually pretty fascinating. I want to see what that looks like. Although they have this, I don't think that's really the result.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really interested in gas chromatographs and mass spectrometry because I want to check the purity of certain samples. And so I'm actually looking for one, but they're quite expensive, although they have gotten quite smaller. And they're usually used in medical and science fields, but light frequencies remitted are then collated into a three-dimensional image. So I find this really fascinating. They do call it a molecular fingerprint, which you can actually get from gas chromatography and spectroscopy. But it's a different type of thing. Breaks it into its molecular components and tells you what it's made of. What's really interesting about this is you could take a sample of honey, mix it in with pure water, and then drip a sample onto a Brix sensor to see what the sugar value is. And if it isn't high enough, then it invalidates that sample. But they're taking it to a completely different level, creating a fingerprint that you can identify the source potentially. Kind of like
this
lead.
This is interesting. It seems like forensics for like criminology or something, but not.
Yep, that's pretty much what this is. So Rosen said FLE is more accurate than existing tests and can provide results far quicker at a greatly reduced cost and without the need for highly trained personnel. One of Aston's team's aims is to create a version of the FLE that can be used by honey producers or even consumers with scaled down equipment or eventually just a smartphone. Rolling the test out like this would also accelerate the creation of a honey database, which through machine learning could be used to catalog the biometric signatures. And that's what I was just talking about. That fingerprint could be used to identify the location of honey.
Can you imagine? I mean, this seems like this is going to lead in other directions. And I'm thinking about like pretentious products, right? Like it's like source from the
cologne
number 33 at the,
Yeah, I only
location.
I only have honey from the Champagne region. And you won't be able to call it champagne honey because it's not from that region. We already have that with champagne. All right, folks. Well, we're going to spark up that smoke machine right there and calm the bees, and they will gently deliver us to the front page of ohmtown.com, which powers all of this. Thank you very much. Oh, now I know what's wrong. Well, I mean, not with everything, but hold on a second. I'm gonna have to do something here. Hold on. This is horrible. Sorry, folks. You know what? I'll just do it manually. At least for now. That's it, folks. We are done. And that means that we're going to take off. I am Mayor Watt, and the visualizer above me is the sentient AI from the future.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the August 5th Non Sequitur News.
See you in a little bit. We're going to reset and catch up to real time. Bye-bye. Yeah, I've been stung by a bee.